Ladies and gentlemen, this is all of my Bluetooth speakers that have been shut down. So yep, let's get started to do the smallest to the biggest. The first part will be all of my light show Bluetooth speakers that have been shut down, and the second part, all of my Bluetooth speakers that have been shut down without the light shows. Then the last one will be the party lights. So yep. Then the next one what we're gonna do is failure to start up and shut down. This one is my light shows Bluetooth speakers. It is one the normal Bluetooth speakers without the light shows. And this is the party lights with a lamp on it. Let's get started. This is white Weibo tube that have 3 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers and 2 passive radiators, one on the front and one on the back. So yep, that was really cool Bluetooth speakers. First is the trap and wireless speakers, which trap wireless speakers 109.500.700 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers. This one will get carried. Same thing with the solo castle to her trip, but that doesn't have like shows, but it doesn't have a passive radius. First is the solo castle 100 have 3 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers over here, which is this weaker space. Versus the Army 6 Ludo have 3 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers, the same thing with the Solar Castle 100, but except the 20% more volume about the Solar Castle 100. Versus the Epoch Christmas Born have 3 watts of powers and 10 watts from musical that comes from 1 milliwoofers over here. Versus the White S have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers, and they will have 9 shells on the milliwoofers. Versus the All-Music Color have 3 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers over here. They have 9 shells on the milliwoofers over here. Versus the Rosnat RS 720 have 10 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers over here. Versus the Fresher by 1 ARB 400 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 passive radiators and 1 milliwoofers. Versus the Rosnat RS 420 have 5 watts of power, the same thing as Rosland. The same thing as Fresher by 1 ARB 400 that comes from 1 milliwoofers over here. On the top and on the bottom we have the passive radiators. Versus the E-Temposphere have 10 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers and 1 passive radiators on the bottom, which means they have the light shells on the top, side by side between the bottoms. If we double press, they change everything. It goes power off. If we press 1 time, they will change it, the light shells over here. This is the Home Expert RGB 630380 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers, the same thing as Arkansas called Pioneer Mini, which means this one have 6 watts of power for on-cam, but meanwhile the Pulse Wolf and Home Expert have 5 watts. Versus the Disconnect speakers have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers on the bottom. Versus the White M have 10 watts of power that comes from 1 passive radiators and 1 milliwoofers. The difference is the woofers and the passive radiators. The passive radiators is here on the left, another one is mini woofers. I don't think there might be a tweeters on it. Let's find out. So yep. They have 9 shells on the passive radiators and the woofers. This is the Silvercast 910 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 woofers that have the weakest bass of the largest speakers, but they will have lights of here. Lights number 1, lights number 2, and lights number 3 equals power off. This is the one that got out have 20 watts of power that comes from 2 mini woofers and they will have 9 shells over here. And they will have 1 big passive radiator on the back. So yep, this is the Hostnut RS310 have 10 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers on the top, but they will have 9 shells over here. But it has fake JBL post 4. This is the audience B250 and the fake JBL post 5 have 25 watts of power that comes from 1 woofers, 1 mini woofers, 1 mid woofers over here, and 1 passive radiators on the bottom. Over here, they will have 9 shells, but this one have white colors. Meanwhile, the JBL post 5, the original have only black colors. This is the honest B320 have 6 watts of power, say 15 watts for the music code. That comes from 2 mini woofers over here on the left and on the right, and 2 passive radiators, one for the top and one for the bottom. So yep, they will have 9 shells, but this one have the fake JBL Post 3. This is the Fresher Weapon 1 ERB 800 have 24 watts of power that comes from 2 woofers over here, 2 mid woofers, and 1 passive radiator, and the bass was insane over here. This is the Jellyfish speakers, max 113 have 10 watts of power that comes from 2 mini woofers. I think this one might be tweeters or the passive radiators. Let me know in the comments. The interpretable box have 20 watts of power, the same thing with the possible box. That comes from 2 woofers with twins connection. That might be a 40 watts of power in total with the twins connection, and 2 passive radiators in 1 boom box. And with 2 boom box, we have 4 passive radiators. Meanwhile, the interpretable one have the better sounds. Meanwhile, the pulsar one talks with the force on it. That means we get it to JBL poly boxes. That means the JBL poly box all cohesive 2 have 100 watts of power that comes from 2 dome tweeters, 2 tweeters of the sides on the top left and then on the top right, and 1 5.25 inch woofers. That means that was pretty cool sounds. The bass boost of there's only one button, one bass boost. One is a normal mode. If you press it, there will be bass boost activated. If you press it again, that means disactivated. We want the JBL, press this, tip bass, little lights, and on the top of the lights with the bass boost, that means punchy bass. If you press it again, it goes power off. So yep, and allow the JBL Power Box 110. So the JBL Power Box 110 have 160 watts of power that comes from 2 5.25 inch woofers and 2 tweeters That means we have light shows on the woofers and the tweeters. Next, and the final one is the end of the moment of being ready for. The JBL Protobok 710 have 800 watts of powers that comes from 2.75 inch tweeters and 2.8 inch woofers. That means the JBL Protobok 710 have these woofers that 8 inch. Meanwhile, the JBL Protobok 720 have 9 inch solid. 9 inch. The difference is this. Looks like I just saw that in Audio Trim YouTube channel for sure. So yep, this is it. They have nice shows on the sides, on the woofers and everything, on the top and on the bottom. With these LEDs over here. This is all of my light shows over here. That means next is all of my Bluetooth speakers without the light shows on it. That means yep. Let's get started. This is BOF HD050SM and has fake M3 speakers, have 3 watts of power that comes from one tiny woofers over here. I think that the bass is got a little bit off over here. This is the Solarkick SL200 have 3 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers and 1 passive radiators. Look, it has the same thing, but except for trap electronics have 5 watts. You guys saw that? Versus the JBL Go 3 have 3 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers and the LEDs on the top. Versus the JBL Go 3 have 4.2 watts of power that comes from 1 passive radiators and 1 mini woofers. Same thing with the JBL Go 4, but except for the reverse one. 4.2 watts of power, but except for the hours of playtime. This one is 7 hours, but this one is only 5 hours. But meanwhile, the JBL Go 3 doesn't have an overcast button, but except for the JBL Go 4, they will have overcast. This is the Sony SLA6B100. It's 2.5 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers, 1 mini subwoofer, but the weakest one, and 1 passive radiators that we just hardly did. So yep. This is the Russia Weapon 1 LB500 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers. I think there might be 1 other passive radiators or something. Or there's nothing. There might be one passive radiators over here. Here. That means yep. And finally, this is the finally HBC02 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers, but on the earbuds it says 1 watt in total. Look at that. The left and the right is 0.5 watts. That means 1 watt in total. So 5 plus 1 is 6 watts of these two. This is the JBL Clip 4 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers, sorry. I think there might be 1 passive radiators over here. This is the Silvercrest bike that will have 5 watts of power. The same thing with the Silvercrest 910 that goes from 1 mini woofers over here. This is the Rosnat RS600 have 5 watts of power that comes from 1 mini woofers over here. Only 1 mini woofers, same thing with the Silvercrest. Versus the Nixter F003 Evaco powering arm, it goes like this. By default it says The Bluetooth device is really to pair. You really got all that? F003 and 5 watts of powers. That comes from 1 milliwoofers. 1 milliwoofers, or there might be one passive radiators, or just 1 milliwoofers. So yep, this is the DHA 113 have 10 watts of power that comes from 2 milliwoofers over here. This is the JBL Flip 5 have 20 watts of power that comes from 1 milliwoofers but without the triggers. But with the JBL Flip 6, so the JBL Flip 6 have 30 watts of power that comes from one woofers and 1 triggers over here. But except the JBL Flip 5 have only one woofers. So the JBL Flip 5 have the passive radiators over here, the old passive radiators, and on the sides, to the right side, it says JBL. We want on the right, on the both sides of the JBL Flip 6, the waterproof is rated on the JBL Flip 5 IPX7, but except for the JBL Flip 6 IB67 waterproof. Now the DKTS 1612 have 20 watts of power that comes from two mini subwoofers over here, but two woofers is a 10. So yep. Next is the Rosnat RS200 and it has fake JBL Flip 3. It's 16 watts of power that comes from 2 mini woofers. It's the same with the JBL Flip 4 and the JBL Flip 3. And with 2 passive radiators, but this one has the same passive radiators, but except the JBL logos is missing. So yep, we can make a Connect Plus. We want the old JBL example. JBL Post 2, Post 3, Flip 3, Flip 4, the Charge 3, the Extreme 1, the Extreme 2, and the Boombox 1. Since the JBL Flip 5 have the first poly boost, JBL Flip 5, the Flip 6, the Charge 3, and the Charge 4 have Connect Plus. Since the JBL Charge 5 have poly boost on it, Extreme 3 2, Boombox 2, and the Boombox 3. So yep. The differences is the JBL Flip 3 and the Rosnat RS200, yep. So now in the last one is Interpol Area V4 have 16 watts of power that comes from 2 mini woofers and 2 passive radiators on the sides. It says Interpol logo. Look at that. Switching buttons over here. These are the switching power over here. Power on and power off. Now to the party lights. This one is disco lamp, which 3 AA for the batteries with it just is on it. And this one is my remote. And this one is the JBL party light beam. This one have the colors, but this one is the one searchlights. We get one down, and do the disco lights for the party lights, but it's not a JBL. It's from the 3 colors, red, green, and blue. And so is the knob from Action. Mini party light stick over here, except for the JBL. But this one have multiple light shells of here. But except for the JPL polylight stick, the JPL polylight sticks whoever can connect it with the JPL poly boxes like the new one, JPL Clip 120, JPL Core System 2, as an example. We can connect with the polylight beam, polylight stick, anything with the JPL Go 4. Now that is it for today, folks. See you in your premiere.